Hi, everybody, and welcome to another additional episode of the Burn Desire Show. And today I'm graced with the company of Danielle Petruzzelli, somebody that I've only met relatively recently, a good friend of mine's other half, better half, I would say. But there you go. He definitely would not agree because that's who he is, but whatever.
Could you make him not hear it?
Well, I'm seeing him later, so I'll tell him.
Yeah.
I was over at his house, or your house rather, for the Nottingham United game, and we just struck it off pretty well. I hadn't really watched the game because the conversation was pretty interesting, and I was like, I have to learn more about yourself and the story and everything else. So that's why this came about.
Love it. Very excited.
So yes, I always like to kind of like start like in a linear way. So you grew up in, was it Manchester or whereabouts?
Yeah, so the bigger picture is Manchester, but it's actually Hyde. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yep.
area. That Tameside area is my original roots.
Yep. Yep. And you came across incredibly like entrepreneurial and optimistic and positive. And one of the things you said was that you don't really know where it comes from because it's not like your family aren't that way inclined. So I don't know if you can talk a bit more about that. I think it's quite interesting actually.
Um, I actually remember that you remembered that. And you said you were going to bring it up. I actually have no idea, to be honest. What a good question. I'm not sure why I'm this way. I think yeah, I'm actually not sure. I don't even know where it comes from because we just come from what I'd call like a normal working class family, good jobs, work hard. But I have always been the one that's had the like crazy ideas and bigger ideas and like outside the box and just doing nut stuff that everyone else can't seem to understand at the time. So
So let go to like what's your first earliest memory of like having this like desire to like do something different or entrepreneurial, or were you the kid selling sweets in the school bus? Like where did that kind of start, you think?
I don't know where it started, but when you said it, I always say this to Joel. I've got this one memory. I must have been small because I was in Blackpool with my dad walking down the beach, holding his hand, and my brother was holding his hand on the other side. I don't know what possessed me, but I remember just saying to him, this was always my goal, and I honestly must have been so young. But I said, when I'm older, we must have seen a big like black Range Rover drive past, and I just went, oh, can't wait to have one of them when I'm older. And my brother went, what, you won't be able to get one of them cars. And I looked at him as if he was like an alien. And I was like, what do you mean? I'll have whatever I want. And my dad was like, yes, you will. And I was like, yeah, I will. And that has stuck with me, that memory for, I must have been like under 10. And
Wow.
that memory has just stuck with me in terms of what I perceived I could have, even though it was just like a Range Rover. It's not nothing huge, but
Yeah,
at that time, our perspectives were so different because he saw that as out of this world.
right.
I was like, can't wait to have one of them when I'm older. So yeah, I don't know. That was always stuck with me, that memory. I don't know why.
It's actually very interesting because
Mm.
um I actually was talking to a friend about this, another kind of entrepreneurial like friend of mine. And if you ever watch Conor McGregor's documentary called Notorious, like I'm not into big into the like UFC or anything, but it's definitely worth watching because the fact they had the foresight to record himself at the very beginning. I mean, you're talking when he was receiving like bailiff notices and he was on benefits and all the rest of it, and like he was fighting and he's saying, I'm 8 weeks out from a fight when it's nowhere near like a fight because it's just unknown.
Yeah,
But the point was, he actually does get a Range Rover after he like performs one in a fight, and he says, everyone talks about the fact that you shouldn't be materialistic. It's all about experiences, and he's like, but the thing is, I've got a material, and every time I step in it is an experience. And I was saying this exact thing to a friend of mine. So I have this with watches or other things, whatever it is. Like I find through materials, like you can get an experience every time you look at your wrist, every time you have that nice suit on or nice dress in your opinion, in your world, sorry, unless
yeah,
you wear suits, and sorry, like in these days, you gotta be careful,
yeah.
you gotta be careful what you bloody say, right? But you know what I'm trying to say. So, or
Of
that nice
course.
pair of like shoes or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think a lot of people would go, "Oh, that's so materialistic that you're pinning everything to materials,"
yeah, yeah. I think it was probably as a child, just what I thought, oh, all them successful people drive around without even understanding the concept of what that would mean. I was so young. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, you've just reminded me, it is somewhere. I don't know if it's in this house or I would show you when you're
Yes.
around. But
Yes.
I had this book, this like notepad. I must have been about 13. And
Uh-huh.
it's so funny because all I did in it was practice my signature. And everyone used to say, what are you doing? And I'm like, just practicing for when I'm famous. And I used to like write all these affirmations. So strange now because I do that as an adult. But when I look back and think, oh my God, like I was literally just turned a teenager, knew nothing
Wow.
about that world. And I used to write in this book basically as if I was like famous. It's so, I'll have to
Interesting.
get it out. Yeah.
Very interesting. And you hadn't read like books as to these things or been on a obviously that age a course or anything. It was just ingrained within you. Like this is something that
Yeah.
I should do, and it's the right. That's so interesting.
I know it's
And
weird.
I was trying to a friend. This is the same friend I was talking to today, and like we were talking about this. Like you don't necessarily know where this kind of itch comes from. You know, if that you want to
Yeah.
put it like that, or
Yeah.
I'd call it burning desire, like because obviously that's how I brand things. But now I'm joking. But yeah, you don't know where it comes from, and it's not necessarily. I happen to be from a pretty entrepreneurial family, but
Yeah.
this other fellow not at all, and yourself by the sound of things also
Yeah.
not at all. So I don't think that's not a common thread, like as to why we are wired the way we are. It's just I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Interesting.
Maybe in some respects, some people it's just like to want a better life, whatever that might mean. And
Yeah. I
but
think I think I hate saying we've probably struggled, not struggled. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's
yeah,
probably because I would see, the other side and think, oh, well, I'm going to make sure that we can have that when we're older and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe it was like being on the opposite of that growing up, that I just had this burning desire.
there you go.
um, yeah, I just think, right, well, I want to do things a little bit differently here. So yeah, I don't know.
So that's when you like sub 10, then you're doing these affirmations and signing this thing and have this for
So
some
funny.
reason was going back to the famous thing, was there someone at that I'm not sure how old you are exactly, but who was it? Is there like was there a certain celebrity or people at that point that you looked at and you're like, wow, that's so cool, like whether it was the Spice Girl or this one or that one, or like regardless of this business or not?
I remember at that time, I used in this book. I'm gonna have to. This book, I don't think it's in this house. I will be looking after this book. um, but I used to write songs down in there as well, like songs, poems, whatever you'd call them,
That you'd make or ones that you'd heard of?
that I'd made.
Okay.
And I just remember that at that time in life, it was the Britney Spears,
Yeah,
Christina
okay.
Aguilera era, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to be them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think that I don't. I used to just write. I've got a diary from when I was in school.
Wow.
Need to read that from back to front. I haven't read it for a bit, but yeah, I
Wow.
don't know. Just always write things down. Like I'd have like now. I love writing. I love like deep writing, long things. And I've always clearly been like that. So yeah, this book is interesting.
That is interesting because you find a lot of people that like say that or like want to be like Britney Spears from the other one, but like that actually then go and do something about it, or like even as small as like writing something down or whatever else. Like that's pretty rare, particularly not just the age that you were, but back then, like it wasn't like journaling, having diaries wasn't what it is now. Where like if you're a parent now, you'd almost like tell your kids, hey, you should do this because like it's good to have. And I don't think it wasn't like that then. It wasn't a thing.
Well, that that sort of what we call it self-development world,
Yes.
never existed in my family. So it's not like,
Yes.
my parents would pass all this great stuff on to me.
Yes.
It didn't even exist in my world at that time. It does now for like the last 10 years. But that I don't, God, I don't know.
So you're doing that, and then what's the next like thing? Like, what did you study at school? Like, obviously, the first thing you do is you choose your options, GCSE, then you do A levels. What sort of subjects did you study there?
Um, I did all the standard stuff at school. And then my A levels, I did, oh my God, testing me now, psychology, business studies, performing arts, which is interesting because it's strange because that side, although I did it at obviously A level, but I didn't pursue that further. And
Yep.
some parts of me wish that I had because I feel like it would have been fantastic for me. So, yeah, A level was performing arts, business, psychology. There was another one, can't even remember. It's that
So
long ago.
talking of performing arts, you just clocked something with me that I'm at 30th, which you're coming to.
Yes.
There's another person coming who is like, I'm not gonna say who it is because you'll figure out she's there, but
Yeah.
she is in that world. And this, I feel like you're going to get on very well. I said to someone the other day, like the group of people that are coming to that event literally don't know each other. Like no one knows each other. It's just the
Yeah.
way it's gone out. But then there was an interesting point that someone mentioned to me that if you were building a business, right, you would never hire 10 chief marketing officers. You wouldn't do it. It'd be ridiculous, right? And like similarly, if you're like have a friendship group and maybe it sounds a bit contrived, why would we have 10 of the same sort of people around? But most people do
Yeah.
that. They want the comfortable, they want the I haven't by design chosen to have different like people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different like philosophies, different like jobs, different things. It's just the way it happens to be because I do different things. But
Mhm.
it's pretty interesting when I look around that virtual table that it will be a physical table sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so interesting that people one don't
Conversations.
know each other and two they're so varied.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm pretty excited just to see how that dynamic works.
Oh,
Pretty.
there'll be some great conversations
There
flowing.
will. There definitely will. There definitely will. So then back to you. So those subjects you choose, like that kind of does make a lot of sense to me. Like knowing you a little bit, like that kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And then did you go down the university route after that or no?
Yeah. So when to university, got a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
Then I went to do my master's in social work and got halfway through it, found Juice Plus, then quit my master's, and then that was like the last 10 years of my life.
Okay. Okay. So yes. How do you come across like Juice Plus to start with?
So I think network marketing at the time, 10 years ago, like it's everywhere now. There's loads of amazing companies. It's almost a case of, yeah, cool, what company you with? Everyone's got a side hustle. Back then, it was like 10 years ago, people were like, you do what? You know, you're doing what? It was really not heard of. So I'd had a friend seen her on social media doing it, talking about these amazing products, blah, 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 as you do. It's funny because at the time I was a pretty big, not hater, but I was just like, oh, looks like a cult to me. Don't
Yeah.
talk to me about it. Very much don't want to know.
I think that's 99% of people have that opinion.
Yeah, and it's strange because I think why, like, obviously girls say no to me now, and I think you say no to someone without even knowing what it is. Why
Right.
do we do that as humans?
Right.
And I've found that I think our automatic when it's something that we don't know, rather than going, cool, let me look, we go, not for me. And I'm like, why do we do that? Like, just
Yeah.
like, we don't know what we don't know. And we say no to it. And I'm like, you don't even know what you say no to. But
Yeah, it's just like it's that comfort zone. It's said over and over again, but it's like people. I said again, it's one of the big things that I talk about all the time, and I'll say to people like when I'm consulting for their business, or if I'm like all different things that I do, or just talking to you, mentoring them, whatever. Like if you expect a different output based upon the same inputs, that is, in other words, the definition of insanity based off what Einstein was saying. And I always go back to this kind of real life example where I was playing golf and I was on the 10th tee. So I've hit 9 tee shots prior to, and every one of them had sliced from this way, left through to right, and it out of bounds. Like lost 9 balls in a row plus. And I was mad. I was fuming. And this guy says to me, Charles, like, you do know you're doing the exact same thing and you're expecting a different result. And that is Einstein's definition of insanity. And when you put it like that, you stop and you go, to be fair, yeah, that is what I do. But that's what most people going back to yourself do in life. They do the same thing. They're not happy with maybe where they're at with things. And they just go, no, not doing that because no, I've not heard of it. Or it sounds a bit whatever, or too good to be true, or whatever people tell themselves. That self-talk is really dangerous that people kind of get into that habit. Anyway, carry on, sorry.
yeah, it's all right. So yeah, then what happened was I always used to get tonsillitis in a nutshell, always ill, always run down. My diet was didn't eat fruits and veg, didn't drink water, just lived off wine at the weekends, and that was how we rolled back then. I was well, I'm almost 35 in April, so I was like a baby, do you know what I mean? So it was
Wow.
allowed.
Wow.
And I said to her, do you know, she kept telling me about these products. When she stopped the business, she's like, at least try the products. And I was like, okay, if it's going to shut you up, drop me some of these capsules of them. So, in a nutshell, I got on this product really skeptical. And within weeks, I was like, what the hell have you given me? This is incredible. My energy was through the roof. I felt awake, felt alive. And it wasn't until a few months in, my mum said, you've not been ill. And I got on them at December. So it was like a critical illness time.
Yeah.
And she was like, you've not been ill. And I was like, oh my God, do you think it's these things? She went, well, must be. And I changed nothing else. So I got on the products. I became a customer for about a year, like literally repeat. And I was like, I am never stopping taking these.
So what were you taking exactly? What was it?
So the Juice Plus Essential Capsules is basically 34 fruits, vegetables, and berries encapsulated. So
Like a tablety form.
yeah, it's just the raw stuff encapsulated at its finest quality and in your bloodstream, bioavailable. Could talk about them forever.
And
But
how many a day are you taking it? Were you taking it those?
so I just took two fruit, two veg, two berry every single day.
Like in
And
the
it
morning, or doesn't matter what time you take it?
doesn't matter what time. I just do mine in the morning as part of the routine. But
Yeah.
I just I was like blown away. Obviously, my diet wasn't fantastic, for my body to receive all this nutrition, it was probably like, "What are you
Right,
doing?"
right, right, right.
And I became a customer for a year, and at that point, I just kept reordering off her, and I thought, I'm never stopping taking these. And then one day she calculated like how much commission or whatever she'd earned off me and said, you know, if you just join this business and just for yourself and used it for your own personal orders, you would make a little bit of money. And I was like, not fair enough, because I thought I'm going to keep buying these products.
Right, right.
Um, Still very skeptical when I joined like the business side of things. And it wasn't until a few months in, I went to like a big event. I can't remember what it was, it might have been Reading, something like that. A few hundred people, speakers, like motivational sort of thing. There was girls just like me getting up on that stage, sharing. And I like my head like blew completely off. I'd gone in that room happy to, make 50, £100 a month. I was a skint student at the time.
Right.
And I left that room and I said, show me how to get to the top of this marketing plan as fast as I can, because why can't I have what them girls have got?
What,
They're
can
just
you
like,
be specific as to what were they showing? Like what were they?
they were just sharing like, they'd smashed the marketing plan, they'd hit the top position, their lifestyle, they had time freedom, financial freedom, which is rare that you get both.
And were these
And
people earning like tens of thousands a month? Is it that kind of level plus?
yeah, yeah. But disclaimer, obviously that is
Top,
yes,
top, top
listen
people.
to this. Yeah, disclaimer, that is very, very dependent on your work ethic, and that's
Yeah, of
not
course.
standard for everyone. But yeah, they had 6, 7 figure lifestyles, and I
Yeah.
was like, sorry, what? I've got £10 in my bank. I'm at uni. And I already loved this product. So it was a point where I thought, what in God's name am I doing? Because I've done nothing with it. And then that was January 2013,
Yep.
literally 10 years ago.
Wow.
And by the June of that same year, I'd gone to the top of this marketing plan. And in that 6 months, my entire life was like upside down, changed. Like it was a whirlwind. And that the rest was history.
Okay, so let's go from like January 2013.
Mhm.
You have this like going back to your history, you've got this desire within you to like better yourself, to have the material trappings, all these things, which I'm sure was a big kind of factor into why you
At
had
that
the
time.
drive.
Yeah. Yeah. You just sit there and it's a feeling. That's all I can describe. You go in them rooms, you feel it, and you leave, and no one can take that feeling off you. So you just get to work.
So what does get to work mean? Like what were the actual sort of things you did that worked or didn't work? Or I'm
um,
sure they are at the end of the day, like whether people like the term network marketing or not, it's the
yeah,
same as any business, right?
that's it.
You're finding customers, you're advertising what you're doing, so it's applicable to everything, you know?
100%. Two things: sharing the product with people and sharing the business opportunity. So whoever I could speak to that would listen, I would tell them about Juice Plus. I was lethal back in the day. I remember people would message me trying to sell me or talk to me something. Would you want to meet for coffee? I'd got this idea, want to run by you. I'd be like, yeah, cool, we get that. And I'd say, I'm going to listen to what you say, but I've got something for you. And that was the conversation to everybody. I used to go into, when I lived in Manchester, I'd go into the town centre, Arndale, shopping with no money. I'd set a little target of 10 girls I was going to speak to whilst out and about. And I'd go into a shop, try some shoes on, get chatting to the girl, ask her what time she's finishing. It was always like a weekend. So she's telling me, oh, 8 p.m. And I'm like, do you like your job? And she's like, well, and I'm like, what do you do? And then I'd say,
Wow.
let's link on social media. I've got somebody who's going to help you. And I used to do that. You couldn't take me anywhere at that time. I'd be in a bar getting a drink and I'd pitch the waiter like it was, yeah, you're just talking to people. So, yeah, it's what you're willing, someone might just be willing to talk to one person a month.
Yeah.
I was willing to talk to 1,000 people a month. So,
Wow.
that's how it goes.
And so you would, but here's the thing, right? There's one thing having the desire to want to bet yourself. There's another thing having the mineral, shall we say, to actually go and talk to people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's a whole other level of actually having the ability and skill to persuade people to do something that one they maybe never would think of doing or whatever else. It's a whole, those three things are like are key ingredients in any successful endeavor, right? And I think all three are pretty rare, actually. I think probably the first foundation of a desire is the most common.
Yeah.
Whether you'll like understand how they can activate it, how like deep rooted it is or not. I think most people go through life and they maybe had this ambition or dream years ago, but like now their lives change and this thing, and they just come up with every excuse under the sun as to why. Oh, if times were different, I would have done this, that, and the other, and all the rest of it. But then say you get past that bit and you go into the okay, I'm going to go and make something. It's even rarer to then, as you did, go and speak to anyone, have the confidence to just speak to anyone and to turn a conversation then into an actual, in the business sense, a paying client. That's like very, very challenging to do, particularly on a product of which, or an industry in which is like it or not, has a pretty awful reputation. Whether that's a fair reflection or not, that is what you're working with, So that's amazing. And then so like how many people were you signing up in your peak, like a month? Can you tell us that?
I can't remember. I couldn't tell you what the numbers were. We've had so many numbers since. Do you know how you said, well, how are you doing that bit? And do you know what it was? Like, I know exactly what it was. It wasn't what I said. It was how I was making people feel. It was my energy. I was so like on fire about what I'd seen. Like I felt it in the room, and then that energy was of me, and I was almost like to people, you don't get it. You need to come and get it. So half the time, and then when the momentum started, people would message me and say, I don't even care what it is you're doing, sign me up, because the energy around the team and the success, people were like, I'm not missing this. So half the time,
That's awesome.
no one cares what you're saying. I think if you believe in something and you go at it, people like genuinely see it and you think, sign me up.
It's super interesting because I actually had it again. This was the other day with somebody, and years ago when I used to watch football with friends and stuff, one of my friends was particularly good at football, right? And it's relevant for this reason. We'd be watching a football game and he'd make a comment of like some really obscure player and say, oh, he scored 20 goals for Monaco in the 1998 season. And no one would challenge it because it was said with such confidence and conviction. And one day I looked at Wikipedia and it was utter nonsense, whatever this person said.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's just not true. It's like, yeah, I know most of what I say isn't. I just say it because no one challenges it. And that's the truth. Like the truth of the matter is, right? Now, I'm not like saying, I'm just trying to give
Yeah, no, it's
across that
true.
if you're confident enough in your convictions and you genuinely believe in it, not a good example because he was doing it for a laugh, but this is different.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes a huge difference. And look, people buy from people, and the energy you put across and how you come across, like, is so important. And people do want to be around people that have the positive energy. Like, they're like, geez, I need whatever that is that person's on, taking or
Yeah,
eating or
doing it.
whatever. Like, geez, I need to, and now more and more, that's what I think people look at on Instagram and stuff. They don't know what they're looking at. They think it's just the materials, whatever else. But it's not just that. It's the whole, whether it is perception, most of the time it is perception, let's be fair.
Yeah,
But it's the whole perception of the energy that person's giving off. And I think if you look at a lot of the bigger social media personalities, and the reason they don't resonate with a lot of people and they do with others is how in my opinion, if they're disingenuous or not, the energy they give out.
yeah,
I'm not going to mention who they are. I'll tell you privately. But like, there's certain people that I see that have huge followings that quote the Ministry of Bleeding Obvious, I would suggest, and it works for the masses, right?
yeah,
But it's so disingenuous. It's just to get followers, it's just to get likes. I think anyone that's got a little bit of like nous about them and whatever else goes like that person's got a team behind them that's saying that. It's not coming from them. It's not real. It's not authentic. Um, and yeah, back to you. I certainly, when I'm around someone like yourself or you're the half or whoever it is, like, it's not about finance, who's got what, finance wise, materials, whatever. Like, you can be an energetic, high performing, like, optimistic person, positive person, without having to be an entrepreneur, without having to have X, Y, and Z. And that's what I love to be around. Like,
yeah,
I cannot stand, and I'm sure you're the same, being around people that are constantly complaining, constantly moaning, always like jealous of other people. Never like, it's just, I always look for the best in people, even some of the people that are not particularly great, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
same.
and yeah, so and I just, over the years, going back to that kind of 30th birthday party, that table that I created, like, those people around there, so they're all different, but like, they all have a positive outlook. They've all got interesting things to say. And that backs the energy point. It's so important. Like, whether you believe energy is a thing, spiritual or otherwise, I can tell you for a fact, if I come into a room or you come into a room, people know about it. Like, they know about it because, like, I will not, like, I decided not to go to the engagement party on just the weekend because I just wasn't at it. Like, I was like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna get there, and when I'm miserable, like, I'm not doing it. And like, that's the maturity over the years. Like, I used to just go and I'd give
yeah,
more energy out, and then you got to protect your energy too, right? So like, how do you do that? Because I find that this is a particular, like, personal thing, that because I'm so high energy all the time, even if I'm at dinner with a friend, I'm still high energy most of the time. Like, trying to protect that and sustain that, particularly given my past that people know about
yeah.
or don't know about. I'm curious about how you maintain your levels of energy.
Well, probably learned the hard way. Obviously, in network marketing, you've got a team of thousands and everyone wants you and you're like the lighthouse for everyone. So they're coming to you for energy and you to hype them up and stuff. So in the beginning, I just used to, if people needed, I just used to give to them. Obviously that's not sustainable and I didn't know that back then. Now I'm I've got no problem in not answering a call, not answering a text, not not turning up if I'm not ready for it. I'm more than happy to be like, not then, but we can do that, you know. And but I always ask myself the question, which I actually learned from my counselor at the time, is to always used to say to myself, is this something I want to do? Like, literally ask yourself the question, because half the time someone will say, you know, Charles, let's do this, or Danielle, do you want to do this? And we find ourselves going, yeah, cool, because that's the type of people we are.
Yeah.
Now and then I'd find myself being in somewhere that I didn't really want to be, wasn't fun, coming away from it feeling drained, all this stuff. So now every time I take a minute and I say, do you actually want to go there, Danielle? Because if I don't go and I do nothing. I don't feel bad for it, even if I'm in somebody else's eyes letting them down. You know, say it's a big friend gathering and it's too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say to my friend, I can't make that, but let me take you out for dinner for your birthday. So
Yes.
I'm very good now with literally not giving a shit about the consequence. That's not my problem, and I have to sort of, I
Yep.
don't apologize when I've not been online, or I don't apologize for getting back to someone late like I used to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I just think we're so what's the word, available
Yeah.
in
Very
this
true.
day and age.
Very true.
And almost like if you don't reply to that message in 2 seconds and someone sees you online, I'm just very okay now with going, I'm going to reply to that later. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't apologize for it. And I set
It's
those
very
boundaries.
it's a very good point because I've got this like deep rooted like pain, I think, but it's also maybe it's a like a part of that desire piece where it doesn't matter what I've done in a given day. It really doesn't matter like how efficient, how productive, how whatever, how many deals I've done or whatever it is. I always end up going, could have done more. And like it used to really, I'm talking not even that long ago, like a few weeks, months ago, it really used to grind me every night, drive me mad. And I'd be like, right, like how can I like be more efficient, do this, do that, do that. And then like I've been trying to like digest that. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to change the feeling because that's just what happens. And it's a very Buddhist thing, right? To appreciate and acknowledge the feeling, but not try and change it. It's just it is what it is, like whatever. But like the way I look at it now is I'm like, well, that feeling isn't going to go away because it's just a part of my personality. And actually, if I just then go, all right, tomorrow we try again, like, and just have that approach, like, just turn it into a positive. And again, when you're in tough position in life, it's so easy to say those things, right? Oh, just whatever the situation, just think of the positive. Like, it doesn't obviously work. It's not that easy. It's very difficult to do. But yeah, that's how I've managed to kind of like at the minute, like trying to like turn that into something that's useful rather than just infuriates you, just as like gives you more stress and aggravation.
I think as well, just I'm very, very similar, I think, to you. So I have to have these little things that I say to myself that almost like kick me back into, oh yeah, like things such as I am just a human, you know, and nobody's dying urgently, so this can wait till tomorrow. And then I go, oh yeah, and
Great point.
just changing that narrative, and it always makes me feel better because I get very, I should have when I catch myself. There's an amazing book I've read, but I've lent it out. It's called The Wisdom of Anxiety. Life changing
Huh?
for anyone that listens to this. Whether you have anxiety or not, just get the book. The teachings in it are life changing. And it says when you hear that I should have word, I should have done more today. I should have. It's actually an intrusive thought, and you shouldn't be doing anything. You're a human. You smashed it today,
Yeah.
and it's about having that different conversation with yourself when you get to that. When I notice my should have thoughts, I'm like,
Mm.
whoa, 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 no, I'm human. I am smashing it. I am smashing it, no matter where I am on that scale,
Yeah.
and everything can wait. And it almost like brings me back down again. I go, oh yeah, all right. No one's dying, and that's what I keep saying. Like, no, there's no urgency. No one's going to die if I don't do this tonight. And then I think, oh yeah, because it's always just the pressure that I put on myself. No
So
one else.
true. So true. That's going to be a burning issues topic, and I will credit you because it's a great topic to talk about. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I remember you've reminded me back when I worked for Tesco.
Mm.
My buying manager at the time used to say because I used to work and I was much younger, so I didn't really I didn't have much life experience, right? Anywhere near as obviously where I'm at now, but um, and he'd be like, Charles, like no one's dying. Like you're not a heart surgeon, so what are you worrying about? Like it doesn't matter. And it's just
Yeah.
like you've reminded me. It's so refreshing to hear that actually because it's true. Like I know right now there's a bunch of watch deals in my personal life that I could just go and do and different things, whatever else. But if I don't happen today, like and I lose out on a deal, all right, like it's gonna happen. Like it's opportunity cost all the time. Do I
Yeah.
go see Joel and have a nice time this evening, or do I sit in and just work? And what am I working for? Because I think I put this out the other day, but
I
what
watched
is
it on your balcony. Was it the balcony?
Yeah, one I did one about living the existing, but then there's a quote that I read. I don't know who it's attributed to, but it's don't get too kind of don't be so kind of concerned making a living that you forget to live a life, because that's what most people are doing. They're just like so head down, making some more, making some more, making some more. For what? Like for who, for what, and why?
Yeah.
Because all you're really looking to do is have that like freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, with who you want, right? But you
Yeah.
can do that without necessarily having like the millions in your account straight away. You can do that on a daily rather than waiting 20 years until you've maybe hit the director level, maybe hit this, maybe hit the other, which is pretty interesting. Now, something, because you mentioned something, so someone that's watching or listening to this, and they go, you know what, like, yeah, my whether it's my financial position or my mental position is not where I want it to be. What kind of practical steps or advice would you give to somebody if it was a friend that came to you and was like, hey Danielle, like I'm not talking about, oh, let's like go into the network marketing thing. That might be a possibility. I'm just saying, generally speaking, like someone comes to you or you notice that they're not in a great space, like what would you say? What steps of advice would you give?
Let me think outside the box because you know me, I would pitch them for my business. So let me think. If we're not talking about that,
Well, okay. Well, hold a second. So let's go with that. So let's say I am coming to you now, and I'm saying, look, I'm struggling to make ends meet. I'm not motivated. I'm like feeling tired all the time. Like, how are you pitching me Juice Plus?
really simple. I'd say I've got a product that's going to make you feel better, so that's a win. And then
Mhm.
we're going to use that story to build your business from your phone, no risk, and it's an opportunity for the taking. Like that's if we're talking network marketing, in my eyes, it is an opportunity. And
Yeah,
that's what I say to people. It
yeah,
is whatever you want it to be. People do say, how much money can you make? I'm like, that's not the question. It's what do you want? And I'll show you how to get it. And you have to put that work in. And on the topic of opportunities, I genuinely believe they're everywhere. There's
yes,
there's opportunities everywhere. And what I do think is sometimes people's eyes and ears are so closed that something could be right in front of them
yep.
and they're not seeing it. And this is, they could be sat at home right now. Let's take a girl just like me, might be sat at home tonight thinking, oh, I really need something. I wish I could make some more money. And then in comes someone like me in their inbox, like, hey, babe, have you ever heard about this? And they go, not for me. And what I always say is keep your eyes and your ears open because you'll be asking the universe for something and it's trying to deliver, but it might not come in how you'd expect to see it. Someone's not going to knock on your door and go, here's £5,000, but there might be someone, doesn't have to be network marketing, there might be someone you've met that's invited you to something or asked for this catch up. And I'm like, go, because how do you know that that was not the thing that you've been asking for that's going to change your life, whether it's, network marketing or not? I just think opportunity is apps to make money online as just one. The opportunity is everywhere. Half the time, it's free to start these things as well. Um, if it was outside of the industry, my friend came to me. A big thing is, and I had to do this myself. Obviously, I lost my business, didn't I? And I've just started again.
Yeah,
So I had the hustle in me. So at that point, when it all went, 2021
yeah,
lockdown life.
yeah.
I was like, wow, what am I gonna do? I left uni to do this, and now I'm 30 odd and haven't even got a CV. But
Describe that feeling of going from on top of the world. You're like one of like if how many people are in Juice Plus as a team? Would you say? Is it it's hundreds of thousands?
yeah, too many.
And so, and like globally, was it UK? Like, where were you positioned at the height of it? Do you have any idea? Like top
We were in the
1%, top.
top percent of the whole company, like top 2% at one point. Yeah, not
And
that
how
many.
and how did that make you feel at that point?
Just well, you just feel like I don't know, you're on another planet for starts. Um, and I think it's just the freedom that I used to have in terms of financial freedom, but I find most people who've got financial freedom don't have time freedom, and that's
Absolutely.
the way it rolls. But in network marketing, you get both because you then can do whatever you want. It's residual income, eventually. Obviously you still have to work as well, but you get my drift. And then yeah, when it all went away, that was probably one of up there with like the top three worst times
Yep.
that I've ever had in my life. Wasn't just my income, it was everything that that came with that. I was selling my Mercedes that I'd like worked so hard for, sold that to my friend. I moved out of like my dream apartment, went back home to my dad. So
Wow.
all this stuff was
Wow.
going on. Friends were involved that we lost and just, crappy.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you find people that were around you at the time also went around?
yeah, because it involved a few of them. And then, when you leave an industry like this, when you make the decision, business went tits up, but then you make the decision to actually leave the industry for a minute.
Yeah.
People don't like that either for some strange reason. So all of a sudden, people weren't my friends who I thought it was just crazy.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all this was going on, and it was lockdown. So that was like another level of next level stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but you know what's obviously it was a massive shock. It was a really difficult time, but I didn't like I don't know how this thing is Samuel. I didn't panic. I didn't think what the hell am I gonna do? Like because I knew I would find something, if that made sense. But
Yeah.
obviously I was like, oh my God, shit, what's next? But I also knew this was temporary. And then this next level hustle started in me of I will now go and do whatever I need to do, whatever job, like just go and get a job for money, whatever I need to do. I didn't care. And that would be my advice to someone who came to me now and didn't want to do network marketing. I'd say, what are you prepared to do? Do you want to go and work in a supermarket because you can get a job tomorrow? What you have to just sort of drop all your stuff because I think there's stuff everywhere, just people aren't willing. Well, I'm not doing that, or I'm not doing that. I messaged everyone I knew and then ended up with about three different things that I was doing. And I was like, I don't care. The money was stable. I could pay my bills. And then I was like, I'm still gonna do a hustle. I just need to get straight, and then we're gonna go back to the drawing board. So I just always believe there's something somewhere, and I always feel like the universe has never let me down in my whole life. There's something's always popped up, so I'm never that fearful that I sort of think, oh my God, even though it feels tough at the times.
So I take it you're a fan the way to what the universe of The Secret, I presume. Is that where you
So I've got all them books there in that pile.
I see, I see. So I only came across this funnily enough on The Apprentice, one of the contestants in my or candidates they call them was talking about it, and I thought it was the most bonkers thing I'd ever come across. I was like,
Yeah,
"What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, well, ask the universe this, and this was delivered," and I'm like, "What? Like, I don't know what you're on about." So I still have a little bit of that attitude, to be honest.
yeah,
However, if that works for people, great. I do also have a belief it's probably similar, but I maybe word it differently. That when you actually look, and it's a Steve Jobs quote, you can't connect the dots going forward or any backwards, right? So wherever you get to in your next kind of phase, you'll probably see the ups and downs led you, allowed you to get to that point, right? And I look at things and I'm like, how certain things happen is so, I'd use the word serendipitous. Like it just kind of, like you look at it, you're like, I just happened to meet that person that then led to this, that led to that. Like
yeah,
it's just crazy. Like it's crazy how that. But that goes back to for me. If you now the reason I'm not a fan of the universe piece, because I think it alienates a lot of people because I think they think, oh, that's a bit kooky and like a bit kind of left field, and what does that even mean? And leaving things up to like people have this perception. Then I think they take it in this way. I think it's the wrong way to take it personally. That I don't need to do much because something will happen. Like I'll just sit in my apartment or my home and I'll be like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be a
I'll
millionaire. Like
manifest it all.
I'm asking to be a millionaire. So like, look, it's not working. Like, what's going on? So,
Yeah,
but if you use it the way you clearly do and others do, and you channel it correctly, you channel it into actual actions that you're taking.
yeah, you have to take. I think you have to hold the vision, that's the bit, the vision in your mind. Like, there's no doubt you're going to go and do the thing, but you have to be taking action
Yeah.
in the direction of the thing. Not It's not a game of I'm going to sit here and manifest a job. It's the universe will see that you are aligned with what you're trying
Yes.
to achieve, and it just plants that. It's always just put the right.
I think that word alignment is very important, it's interesting because I was watching something the other day, and it was actually Darren Brown of all people, and he was talking about the fact that we're so goal orientated and all the rest of it, and he was saying it from a negative standpoint because he was saying like you don't watch a film and skip to the last like little bit and then go, oh, I've watched a film or a book or a piece of
Yeah,
music. You don't skip to like the last seconds of it and go, I've listened to it, right? But we do that in life. We are, listen, I am that like very much like this as well. I put a lot of emphasis on goals and where I want to be and stuff. And I think it's healthy, but it's also can be very dangerous because then the
definitely.
high that you expect from achieving that goal is never as high as you think it would be, and the low of not achieving it's far lower than you think it
Yeah,
might. So you have to. I think they're good guiding blocks, and they're good kind of. It's good to have some direction and alignment, but you've got to have that flexibility to go like, if it doesn't happen just like that or like this, like life's an art, not a science. I've done this before. I'm burning issues. I'll probably do
yeah,
it again, but like you don't just read a book like The Secret or something maybe more mainstream like Richard Branson's autobiography. You don't just read that and go, well, if I just do exactly that, page 3 to page 13, I'm going to have the exact outcome. It doesn't bloody work like that. If it
no,
did, everyone would be the exact same position and everyone would do the exact same things. So
yeah,
life is far more an art, and you have to each day kind of like add and take and different things and alter what you're doing. But yeah, the alignment thing, back to the goal thing, is so key. And I think a lot of people don't align themselves with what they're trying to achieve, whether they want to be like, I don't know, better, lose weight or whatever else. Well, yeah, you're saying that, but your choices for every time you go for Tesco's meal deal is bad. Or you're going in the gym, but you're only going for 10 minutes a week, or you're not putting your money where your mouth is and getting a personal trainer to help you a little bit for those first few, whatever it is.
yeah,
So I think you do raise a really good point of maybe someone would say put your money where your mouth is. It's more probably putting your energy, because I think it's a Tony Robbins point where he goes, I think I don't know if it's right, but I think he says, energy flows where focus, energy goes where focus flows, something like this. Energy
yeah,
flows where focus goes. That's what it is. Sorry.
yeah,
And that's the point, isn't it? If you're really focused on something and like, in a healthy way, again, I say it's on purpose because you can be really unhealthy focused,
yeah,
then things start to happen. And back to the point you made about opportunity everywhere, it absolutely is. Like I always say practically, if I look behind you, there's a tiled roof behind you, right? There's a mirror on your left, there's plants over there. So all those things that you see from a pure entrepreneurial point of view, somebody's making a living out of doing all those things. Somebody. And whatever it is, there's always something that if you couple something you're interested in and you see, like, it's just that mindset of positive thinking and trying something different. And 100% you were saying this about just seeing opportunity, because when you've got the right attitude, you just walk in a coffee store and you see someone and you're like, wonder what this, or you go to it, whatever it is, somehow things start to happen. But when you're in that negative mindset that like you could become all closed and you become more like you don't go out as much, when you do, you don't talk to anyone, and your energy is like just so negative. No one wants to be around that. But guess who does want to be around that? The other negative people. So then you're surrounding yourself in this echo chamber of
yeah,
just negativity of, we're all, like life's tough. Like it's fine for those people in the Range Rover, back to what you said before, because they've got life and this, and they
yeah,
all, well,
yeah.
if you find yourself even in any way with the same sort of thoughts and people as echo chambers, that is unhealthy.
100%. I think going off what you said as well, I like to like say to people like you might feel like you're not in control and all this stuff's going on, but again, maybe just another affirmation. Like I always say to myself, like you're in control of how this goes. No matter like what shitstorm you're in the middle of, if you can try to understand and still manage to hold on to that little thread of now I'm in control. And for me, I went from being really successful to being in a place where we have to leave your ego at the door, don't you? It was
Yep.
all of a sudden of I haven't worked for anyone for all this time. I'm gonna have to get a job. What? Oh my God, and it's paid by hour, and it wasn't what I was used to. But if you're genuinely in a place and you don't want to be there, you'll be willing, and that's how I work out whether people are serious about what they want, whether their feet are matching what the mouth are saying. People say they want this stuff, and I'm like, but you're doing nothing. Whereas every time I've been at rock bottom with literally a penny in my bank, I've also been willing to do whatever it takes. And it's all right to take 10 steps back to get settled, get straight, if it means in the future you can go and take your steps forward. And I've always been completely okay with that. Don't care what anyone don't care if anyone thought, oh my God, she's lost her business and she's leaving and she's living at home again.
Yeah.
Didn't care because all I knew is what my plan was. And I thought, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
And it can be that what sometimes holds people back. And then, if they just got over that, everything would be pretty simple, but they hold themselves back because they may be afraid of what other people might think. So
Totally
yeah.
agree. Totally agree. My last things, I think, is nice to round it off because you do love your books, right? So you mentioned the Wisdom of Anxiety. Have you got any other recommendations to people that are kind of on your top couple of books that you suggest?
Tops. Ooh,
Or
I've got
podcasts you
so
listen
many
to,
thoughts.
or documentaries you've seen, or programs that are particularly kind of help people along in this kind of way?
So, The Wisdom of Anxiety is by Cheryl Paul. There's a book. Oh, wow. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Sounds familiar. Go on.
Everybody needs to read it. And it basically, you read it and you're like, oh my God, your mind is blown as you just almost can't believe that this stuff isn't taught in schools because we all need it type deal.
Yeah.
And it just talks about how trauma keeps itself stored in the body and that whatever physical illness or ailment is happening, whether it's a headache to cancer to this to that to this, it's a result of something that got trapped, whether it's trauma and it's sort of coming out. And the illness is a symptom of the stuff that is not dealt with on the inside. And you read this book and just the brain and how it works and how the body keeps the score is like you just can't believe it. That's a beautiful book. Um, there's so many that I'm looking at here, but I don't know. I am a big. The Secret is up there as a staple. Now, when I first read that book, it was probably 2012. Another rough time in my life. And I remember reading it thinking, so you're telling me I asked for all this bad stuff that's going on and it's my fault and da da da. And I thought, nah, this is a load of crap. I'm not reading it again. And then the next time I read it, I read it very differently. And in the book, it says for what you're ready to, whatever level you're ready to receive this information on is how you're going to receive it. And I read it again and I was like, oh my God. And now I'm like, no, all that was my fault. I asked for, not asked for it, like I didn't sit there and go, oh, want this to happen to me. But I attracted that in through my thoughts, my feelings, the frequencies that I would give off. I was meeting
Yeah.
people that were on that level.
Yeah.
Like it's no wonder. So now I've read it a million times. I've watched the film on Netflix a million times. Probably once a month I watch it and I'm still like, oh my God, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It is one that you have to revisit at different stages in your life because you will see it very differently. And that's a very I think when I've got friends or even team members that are maybe a bit negative, or that's it's not their fault if that's their mindset and that's the world they've been in.
Yeah.
But to me, try and flick a switch, I'm always like, please go and watch the Law of Attraction and just just be open and trying to hear what it's saying.
That's on Netflix. There's a documentary now, a drama, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's The Secret, but they have it on Netflix. It's on and off. They take it on and off, but the free version's on YouTube anyway. So
Okay.
just put in. It's good to actually see the film. I think it's great.
So
Um,
what would I type on YouTube or someone type in to find that? Sorry, the law of attraction.
The Secret.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Law of Attraction. I think she's called Rhonda. What's her surname? Rhonda Byron. I don't know how you say that word.
Okay.
Byrne. Um,
Cool.
I just think because it just makes you. I've been in them places where you absolutely feel hopeless. And I think you need to reach for things that are going to maybe give you a different perspective, even if it shifts you 1% from where you were feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember where I heard this, but I thought, how phenomenal is this? So let's just say me and you are stood on the desert and there's millions of miles of sand, and I'm going in this direction for the next 100 miles, and you pivot 1% away from me, which is like what that. And you go 100 miles in that direction, you are me and you are going to end up in complete, like hundreds and hundreds of miles apart. And that's it for me. You don't have to do these extravagant things all the time. I think if you change your perspective, or you position yourself 1%, that watch film, watch podcast, and get inspired, and something's changed by 1%, and you keep running in that direction over time, you'll be in such a better place. It doesn't have to
Very
be,
true.
I'm feeling crap tonight, I need to change my life, start a business. It's like, no, if you just watch something, listen to something that makes you feel 1 degree
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
you're on the right path, and you just keep going. So,
I think that's a very, very good point, a great way to kind of round off the conversation. Very
yeah.
good point. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been, as I expected,
You're
like
welcome.
really, really
I've
interesting,
enjoyed it.
insightful.
Thank
I
you
hope
for having
so.
me.
No,
Yeah.
it's a privilege to speak to people and to like learn from people who have got different experiences, different opinions on things. As I say, I thought it would be interesting based off the sofa chat we had like a couple of weeks ago, and it didn't disappoint. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you
Cool.
soon.